What happens if your building goes into REAP in the city of Los Angeles? If your apartment building gets placed into REAP in LA, your rent may no longer go to you, and the situation can escalate quickly if you're not prepared. I've been working with Los Angeles property owners for a long time, and SCEP inspections and REAP are one of those situations where most owners don't fully understand what's going on until it's too late. REAP stands for Rent Escrow Account Program, and basically, if your property is considered to be substandard and has a bunch of code violations, or the tenants are filing complaints with the city steps in when there's those unresolved violations and may require tenants to pay rent into a city-controlled escrow account, not to the landlord, and that way you're going to be missing out on a lot of rent every month. REAP stands for the Rent Escrow Account Program. In plain terms, if your property is substandard in condition, or there's complaints from the tenants about it, code violations, the city will step in because of those unresolved violations and may require tenants to pay their rent into a city-controlled escrow account instead of directly to you as the owner of the property. Now, how properties end up in REAP? Most properties don't just suddenly end up in REAP. There's usually a sequence. It typically starts with an inspection, either a routine SCEP inspection, or worse, if one of the tenants files a complaint with the LAHD and puts you in their crosshairs. So what happens, violations are issued and the owner is given time to fix them. If those violations aren't resolved in time, the city may come back, re-inspect, and eventually refer the property into REAP. At that point, things start moving quickly. Now, there's a procedure in the city, and it involves the LA City Council reviewing the REAP situation there. So what happens next is once its property is placed into REAP, a few things happen. Again, tenants may be paying rent into escrow account instead of you. The property is now going under city oversight, which usually means follow-up inspections and strict compliance requirements. And the property stays in REAP until those code violations are cleared and the city verifies that everything's fixed through a final inspection. Now, what owners experience during REAP? This becomes difficult for owners because of the combination of several things happening at once. You have reduced or interrupted income, ongoing repair costs, coordination with inspectors and general contractors, and often tenant-related challenges at the same time. It's not just a repair issue. It quickly becomes an operational and financial situation real fast. Now, the timeline reality. One thing that surprises a lot of owners is how long it can take to get out of REAP. I mean, I've helped a lot of people get out of REAP. I've seen a lot of people that are in REAP. I actually have a listing in Venice right this moment, March 2026, that is in REAP, and it's been in REAP for 6 years. There's $150,000 worth of rent sitting in the city escrow account. And the reason why it's taken so long is that my client is elderly, has cognitive issues, and the family's finally stepping in to rectify the situation. But it's very, very difficult for especially for a lot of seniors, elderly property owners. They get hit with these code violations. Their tenants aren't cooperative. In fact, the tenants are often adversarial, and they kind of bully these senior property owners. And before you know it, they're trying to shop around for contractors. Sometimes they got to get permits, especially for a lot of things like electrical or roofing or other major repairs. And trying to find a contractor that wants to do the job and is permitted and bonded and licensed and insured can be very difficult for these elderly people. Even after repairs are completed, you still have inspections, approvals, and administrative steps that are required in order to get the property out of REAP. Now, every situation is a little different. Some owners choose to complete the work and hold the property. Others step back and evaluate whether continuing to invest makes sense. And in some cases, a lot of owners decide to sell and move on depending on their situation and their goals. So I've seen tons of seniors in the REAP situation in my 40 years selling Los Angeles apartment buildings here. And again, a lot of them just don't have the wherewithal, or they don't have family support, or they may not have a lot of money, and I see people get busted for things like unpermitted additions that have been like that for 50 years. I have somebody that bought a property 50 years ago, had some unpermitted minor stuff, but that's how they bought the property. And the inspectors came every 3 and 4 years, and they never said boo about the property. Well, a couple of years ago, I don't know if the city got more aggressive with inspections, but they brought up this supposedly unpermitted portion of their building. They've been dealing with architects and city for over 4 years trying to get this situation rectified. It's very, very difficult. And it's one reason why you really got to stay on top of your building and make sure that you take care of repairs and maintenance. Very, very important. Now, if you have unpermitted portions of the building, that's a much more difficult situation to deal with. If this happens to you, feel free to reach out to me. I'll kind of review the situation and review the paperwork. I've helped a lot of people actually get out of REAP, and it wasn't for me. It wasn't difficult because I know handyman, I know inspectors, I know contractors, I know electricians, plumbers, roofers. And I look at the situation, I read the REAP report, and I go, okay, well, we got to get a contractor to do this. We got to get an electrician to do that. You're going to have to get permits. We're going to have to, have the electrician file permits for you. And, it's just, you got to grind it out. You got to take care of all of these little situations. But, if you're 85 years old, you don't get around that well, maybe you don't have family to help you, just trying to get on the phone or get on the internet to find a contractor that'll actually do the work can be very, very challenging for a lot of senior clients, especially if they're relying on their rents for their income to survive. Imagine you have a 6-unit building in Venice, and now all your rent's going to a city escrow account. You're not getting your normal rental income. What are you going to do? If you're not rich, but you own a property, and maybe you don't have a lot of family to help you. You don't have anybody who lives around here. Maybe you don't have children or whatever. I don't know what the situation is. Very, very difficult. If you're dealing with REAP, or you think your property may be heading in that direction, I put together a page on my website that breaks this down step by step, how to get out of REAP. And again, if you want to talk through your situation, feel free to reach out to me. All my contact information is below. Check out the link that goes to the REAP page on my website. I just built it. It's March 2026. I got a lot of people calling me about SCEP inspections and REAP. I got people that are, like I said, in REAP, going into REAP, or trying to get out of REAP right now. The city is relentless. And it is a very, very challenging situation, not just for seniors and elderly people that own property, but even for, people that are middle-aged or whatever. They might be busy and don't have time to deal with this, find contractors, get permits, all this stuff. It is very, very difficult. But the thing is, stay on top of repairs and maintenance. When your tenant calls you and says, hey, my hot water heater's not working. Hey, this outlet's not working. Hey, I got some water damage under my sink, you better jump right on that stuff. I tell a story because I always take care of stuff on my building out here in Westchester immediately. I told a story about January 1st, 2026 this year. I wake up, it's New Year's Day, and I have a phone message from my tenant. Hey, my hot water heater's not working. I'm like, oh crap, New Year's Day, I can't even get a break. But I know that I got to take care of this stuff right away. I mean, there's no tenant wants to live without hot water. So what I ended up doing is I called my plumber. I got a great plumber. He's really a good friend. He came down within 2 hours. So I called him at 10. He was there at 12. Something with the burner went out. I don't know all the technical details. I'm not a plumber. So he goes, I got to run to Home Depot, get the part. He went down there. Luckily, Home Depot was open on New Year's Day, got the part. And by 2 o'clock, the job was finished. The water heater was working. The pilot light went on. There was some water leakage too from part of that valve or something. So I had to clean up the water damage, soak up the water. I brought a big fan out. I brought a heater out, a little portable heater. I put it there. And in about, by 5 or 6 o'clock, it was all dry, all cleaned out. Tenant was super happy. He said to me, man, Derrick, that's one of the things I like about living in your building is you always take care of crap that goes wrong immediately. I do not wait. I get stuff handled as soon as possible. I don't want my clients calling the city and complaining about things that aren't fixed. So that's just a little lesson on how I deal with repairs and maintenance. You got to do the same. If you know anybody that's dealing with SCEP inspections or REAP situations, please send them this information. Forward this email, send them to my website. The link's below for how to deal with REAP and how to get your property out of REAP. All right, guys, be safe out there and make sure you're doing maintenance and repairs on your building. Hit me up if you have any questions or anything like that, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. This is Derrick Ruiz with eXp Realty, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.